Oh, good morning and welcome to Distracted Thoughts. Good morning, Dathan. How are you this
Good
morning?
morning, sir. I am good.
Yeah.
I'm running on little bit of sleep. And right now I am burning. I'm ready. But
You're ready.
3 o'clock come around, I'm going to crash.
3 o'clock, you're gonna hit it. It's gonna be done.
That's it.
Yeah. No, it's been a full week. It's been one of those just keep going. And I swear, for people that are watching, we did not coordinate. We did not match on purpose today. As much as it looks like it, we we did not actually color coordinate on purpose.
We did not.
We are not those kind of guys. So
Nope.
it did not happen.
Listen, we're not that organized.
No. It's one of those like, yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's been a week.
It has been a week.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting week.
Yeah.
My week started off. Me and my wife do every 7 months we do 2 nights away.
Yeah.
So that was this Saturday night, Sunday night. So it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Uh-huh.
We went down to the Coeur d'Alene Resort, stayed down there.
Nice.
Had a really good time just getting away. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and it was so nice just to be able to get away and have adult conversations and dinner and be around other adults. And
Right.
I love my kids to death, but sometimes you gotta build your marriage too, you know.
Yeah, right.
So but it was good. We had a good time. We did a Saturday. They did a tequila royale because it was Cinco de Mayo this weekend. So
Right.
Saturday, the resort did a tequila royale, and it was 13 or 14 different tequila companies that had samples. And you go to this thing, and now samples are they're like an eighth of a shot. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
enough to get a taste.
Right.
But you walk in, and they give you this little glass, and you can go around, and you can get your samples and stuff like that. I'm not a tequila guy.
Yeah.
Just not. Never have been.
No, me either.
I mean, I drank some Jose Cuervo back in my early college years, and that was about it.
Right.
Just not. I'm a bourbon guy.
Right.
I did not know, because I don't ever look at tequilas or read about them, that they make a tequila that they take, once it's made, they put it into bourbon barrels, used bourbon barrels,
Mhm.
and let it sit for 2 years. And it colors it, darkens it, and it has a bourbon taste to it. Didn't even know that existed.
No. I mean, I know they do it with wine and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
So I also found out that you can only use a bourbon barrel once.
Yeah. That's for a fact.
So
Yep.
you can never put bourbon in it again.
Nope.
But you can repurpose and put other things in it. Wine, beers,
Yeah,
things like that.
one of my favorites is I love Cabernet that's been in bourbon barrels because it gives it a different body. It gives it a different flavor.
So I found that out first table I go to, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, these are the ones I'm gonna try throughout, because everybody had one, right?
Right.
So it was good. They had a huge layout of authentic style Mexican foods, and it was a great thing. It started raining. It was from 4 to 8, so it started raining about 2 hours into it, and it was outside. There was tents set up and stuff, so pretty much everybody cleared out. Well, all these vendors, they brought these bottles, and they're not going to take them with them.
No.
So it went from an eighth of an ounce of a pour to okay, we got to get rid of this stuff. So for the last 2 hours, I had to be like, okay, I need a lot of water.
I need a lot of water and a lot of food.
But it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was fun. So yeah, so that's the way my week started, and it was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the rest of the week's just been busy.
Yeah.
And sick kids and
Yeah. You told me about Declan.
oh my goodness.
In every tooth in his
Oh my
head.
gosh. Poor kid. I mean, he's 4 years old. He had to get dental work done. He had to be put to sleep to get it done because he's 4.
Right.
And he had 7 crowns and 4 or 5 cavities filled.
Well, and Declan's already, he vibrates.
He constantly.
He loved, like I said, absolutely. He's going to be your inventor, engineer.
He's going to be
something like that.
He's either going to be a daredevil or a genius. I'm not sure which one.
But the kid vibrates. So putting him to sleep is probably the best bet.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the second he come out of being asleep, he was like, I'm hungry. I want a cheeseburger. Like, seriously.
I can hear it too.
It wasn't even a cheeseburger. He's like, I want I want a sandwich with 2 pieces of cheese with pepperoni and bacon in between them. I'm like,
that's oddly
that's
specific.
very oddly specific. So,
That is oddly specific.
it was good though.
That's funny. I mean, it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to your kids to go through stuff like that, but needed to happen.
It did.
You know,
It did.
and as a parent, you have to roll with the punches and be there for them when they need you.
That's
so, you know,
That's it.
yeah.
So what's your week?
My week. So the other guy is actually fully moved in.
Awesome.
So he's here. He actually had he had one of his first meetings, starting to see people, and I'm now referring some to him because I'm stupid full. My capacity is met, and I'm actually like, I need to tone it down a little because this might be too much. So we have that, and then the house is going up. We have foundation, we have the subfloor in, and the walls are starting to go up. Septic system has had some challenges. We've had to have the inspector out, 3 times because it was too deep the first time, and then because of the size, the inspector said, well, no, now you need a junction box because now it's too big. Now you need a junction box, and so he'll be back out again on Monday to inspect it again. So that's been the one slow thing, but they've only been building our house for 3 weeks. They have the foundation is done, the subfloor is done, and the walls are starting to go up.
Nice.
And so it's like, wow, okay, this is going way. And John is telling us, he's like, yeah, we anticipate being done with most of our stuff by the end of July. We're going to turn it over to you in August for you to be able to do, like, we're going to do the flooring, painting, things like
Yeah.
that. We're going to turn it over to you 1st of August to call all of your friends to come help you.
Noted.
Well, so funny. My wife and I were thinking about you in that.
I don't get to paint.
We're gonna. You've seen Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah.
And those yellow jumpsuits that they're
Yes.
like full cover.
Is that what I'm gonna wear?
We're gonna wrap you up in one of those and say, "Here you go." So we were like, yeah, we want Dathan to paint, but here you go. We got
the good thing is, so you're going to be painting new.
Yes.
So there won't be anything extra to get on.
Right.
So I can do that kind of stuff. It's when I got to paint around like trim and stuff. No, it's getting everywhere. Yeah. But I can take that paint gun and I can just go to town on that.
Right. But yes.
But I'm going to have it all over me. You could put me in one of those suits. You could put tape around my gloves so I like an airtight suit.
Yeah.
When I take it off, there's going to be paint on me.
How?
Who knows?
How?
But I will get it on me.
How do you? I mean, because I remember when we were painting this stuff, and you're like, oh, no.
Yep. I don't even have to be painting. I can just walk into a house where other people are painting, and I will leave and be like, "How did I get paint on me?"
Yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's rolling. It's going along
Cool.
way faster. Obviously, stresses that go with it, but we're feeling pretty good. I mean, seeing the progress that they're making it a reality, standing on the subfloor and looking out, because they did the back wall first, and seeing where the windows are and where things are going to be placed. It's like, wow, okay, it's there.
This is when you get to look out the window and go, I need to cut that tree down.
Yes. Yeah.
If I'm going to be sitting right here on a couch, I need to cut that tree down.
So it's funny doing that kind of stuff. So our back is going to have a sliding glass windows out of our master bedroom onto the back deck, right? And so as they framed up where that sliding glass door is going to go, and I literally went like down on the floor, like lowered my head and looked out and said, "Oh, I can see Romanos from where my head's going to be." Like, I can see the top of that mountain from where my head's going to be in bed. I'm like, okay,
cool,
all right,
cool.
No, nothing extra needed there. So, yeah, it's been something. It's definitely been one of those kind of things. Like you said, the week has been good, but stressful, which I think that's kind of the phase in life. You know,
Yeah.
you and I were talking about it a little bit before. Kind of that phase in life. Things are going, things are good, but good is not always easy,
Nope. Nope.
right?
And most anything worth doing is going to be difficult.
Right, right,
If it's super simple, super easy, most of the time it's not super worth doing.
right, right.
But yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool, man. I'm good.
yeah. So we were talking a little bit before and talking, this is the good stuff and where you're going and what you're doing. I had a question
Okay.
that I wanted to throw at you and just get what you think. Because I talked to a friend about this earlier this week, and so I want to throw kind of what I heard and what's out there. So the question I got to ask is, and well, for us to talk to today is, Dathan, if I gave you $2 million, what would you change? Would you change anything about your life? What would you do? Because you have a couple of different businesses. If I gave you $2 million, what would you do different, or what would you change anything?
I would go all in with my airsoft business, CQB
Okay.
Underground.
Okay.
I would expand it.
Okay.
We've been thinking about it anyway.
Yeah.
I would probably not shut down completely, but pretty much eliminate all of the distractions with businesses and things like that, and be full in.
Yeah.
And so would I change what I'm doing? I would still do the same thing. I would
Right.
just do it. I would expand it.
Right.
So I like what I do.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's I had kind of the same answer. I'm thinking through like if I had $2 million, if somebody gave me, X amount of dollars, if somebody gave me money, what would I do? What would I do? I mean, my first thought is, okay, I like the idea of freedom. I hate the idea of being obligated necessarily. As you might know, I hate people telling me what to do.
Yes.
It's one of those things. But I would expand. I would take what I'm doing now and actually expand it into more coaching, different types, and still do different things because I get bored. But I would still probably want to do some different things. Like I love the business aspect of things. I love that. But I would probably do the same thing. I posed a friend that same question, and basically he said, no, I said, what would you do? He's like, well, I would go into this other thing. I would open this, basically it's like, out, like a pack trips and things like that. That it's like I would do more of that kind of stuff. Like, then what are you doing what you're doing now? What's your plan? Because if you don't love it, if you're not, and I understand. Lots of people get stuck into the 9 to 5, whatever. Got to provide what I call the handcuffs of life.
Yeah.
The handcuffs. And so, what's the plan to do something you actually like? To do something that you actually enjoy? Because I don't see myself. I laugh. When I was working either for the state or for when I worked for Schwann's for years, right? I thought about retirement all the time, like what it would be like to retire. Dude, I don't think about that at all anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. I've always strived to do more in everything I'm doing. And yeah, I don't even see retirement. Like not that retirement's a bad thing, but my concept of the word retirement, I don't think I will ever be fully retired.
Right.
Even if I built a huge business, end up selling it, and I'm late 60s, whatever,
Right.
and I've got enough to live off of and never got to worry about anything, I would be semi-retired because I couldn't just sit around. I couldn't just be retired. I would have to do something else.
Right.
I have a creative mind. That's just how I am.
Right.
I don't look at it and go, oh, I can't wait to get retirement. No, that doesn't sound fun to me.
No.
Like it just doesn't. I mean, maybe I'll think differently when I get older, but as of right now, it doesn't. I watched it's funny. I watched my father
Mm-hmm.
um, he was in the construction world. He did concrete.
Right.
He did everything from small driveways to multi-level parking garages, to college stadiums. I mean, he did everything. And everything in between.
Right.
Um, and I can remember, oh man, I don't know, this was probably 20 years ago. I can remember talking to him. I was on the job with him. I'd go visit and things like that. And I can remember talking to him and being like, hey, is this what you want to do forever?
Right.
And my father grew up in a very blue collar,
Mm-hmm.
his father left when he was young age.
Right.
And it was him and 4 sisters. And he was the oldest of them. He had to go to work.
Right.
He went to work to help provide for his family, for his mom.
Right.
And so all he ever knew was just work, get a paycheck, spend it on what you need to spend it on for the family.
Right.
And I asked him one day, and he looked at me. He kind of looked at me kind of off, and he was like, well, yeah, I enjoy providing for my family. And I said, that's not what I'm asking.
Right.
Do you enjoy what you're doing to provide for your family?
Right.
And he didn't even really grasp what I was asking.
He didn't understand the question.
He didn't understand the question because nobody had ever put it to him that way.
Right.
And I watched my father work up until 3 weeks before he passed away,
right.
Killing himself to not be fully satisfied.
Right.
Now, you ask him, and he's completely satisfied with providing for his family.
Right.
But I remember this was probably a month or two before he passed away. We went fishing together, and we were sitting on a boat. And I said, man, how nice would it be just to be able to do this all day long? And he goes, that'd be it. He goes, just be able to fish all day long. And I was like, they make careers out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of giggled at me. He knew at that point in time, the doctors had given him 6 months to live. He knew at that point in time. So his thinking right there at the end was definitely different because he's like, well, I'm not going to be doing concrete the rest of my life.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I mean, that question, I guarantee you the majority of people that you ask that question to
right.
would probably not say stay in the same thing they're doing.
It's funny because thinking about it, because having the different mindsets, like the men you talk about your dad. When I think about that question for myself, I think about my grandpa and my uncle. Right. My grandpa grew up logging. That's all what he knew, but that's what he loved. He could not. He drove truck, but even so, he could have been a long haul driver. He could have done any of those things. He had different abilities. He went to college. He went to college for a year and a half and said, I don't like it. I don't want to be here. And he dropped out and he went and worked in the woods. And that's where he was until the day he died. My grandpa died of leukemia about 20 years ago. And that's where he was until the day he dies. That's where he was happy. He could spend hours and hours. And so that was one of those. My uncle, the same thing. Unfortunately, he was killed in an accident in the woods. But he had scholarships to go play football in college, full ride scholarships. He was good. He never told my grandparents. He never told anybody that he got these offers. He just threw them in the trash because he knew what he wanted to do. He knew where he wanted to be. He knew what his life was going to be like. And so for me, that question was always there of like, hey, I know this is what I'm going to do something I enjoy. Well, the rest of the world be damned, I mean, I'm going to do something that I enjoy. I'm going to do something that I like. And my approach, even through my whole career, has been find the things in your job that you like and do more of that. Mm-hmm. Do more of that thing. Like I love talking to people, right? Duh.
You don't say.
I had different jobs. I had jobs where I worked in a warehouse. I had jobs where I spent a lot of time alone, and I hated them. I was always in my head, terribly self-destructive when I got into those modes. And so I knew that I wanted to talk to people. And it took till later to figure out I really like helping people too.
Yeah.
And so that kind of led into this. So when I posed that question to look out at people all over the place, friends of ours that are just doing something to do something. They're just doing something. Man, you still have to provide. Don't get me wrong.
No, you do.
Still got to provide. You got a family, you still got to provide. But,
so to take it even one step further, I know quite a few people actually who are not just doing something because they think it's what needs to be done. They're doing it because the world's told them that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother step, but it is.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, when I decided I had a comfortable job in Thomasville, Georgia. You know what I mean? I was small town, had one kid, had another one on the way, had a stable job. I was at the top of that job, literally the only position above it was owner. Me and the owner had conversations about me purchasing the business 5 years down the road. We'd had all these conversations, right? I enjoyed most of it. I didn't love it,
right?
But I did enjoy it. And then one day I got this offer for it was like going from a line cook at a mom and pop restaurant to someone offering you an apprenticeship as a chef.
Oh,
at like a 4-star restaurant, 5-star restaurant.
Right.
That's the job offer I got.
Right.
And it was like, okay. And what had happened was I had done some stuff and it came out in a magazine. This was back when they used to put magazines out all the time. It'd come out in a magazine and this company seen it and reached out to me directly and offered me a job. So it was like, oh, wow. At that moment, I realized I was just going through the motions. I didn't love what I did because it was more out there.
Yeah.
And I never looked at that. And then when I started telling people around me that I had this job offer, everybody around me in this little small town that I was in was like, you're crazy. Why would you up and move your family 5 hours away from here into a bigger city and just to do something else when you have a perfectly content job here, you got job security. Right. So the world was telling me I was wrong. I was completely wrong. Like there wasn't a single person that I had surrounded myself with at that point in time that was like, awesome, man, that's good for you.
Yeah.
Not a single person. There was no one at that time, to the point of I almost turned the job down. Like almost. I almost didn't go for this follow-up interview because I had to drive 5 hours to go to this interview. I almost didn't go for the follow-up interview because so many people had told me I was making a mistake. And in that part of my career of what I was doing, it was the best move I ever made. Yeah. So there's a lot of people, and I can think of a few that we're both friends with, that are probably in the position they're in life and doing what they're doing job-wise because they're more worried about what other people around them are going to say if they leave it.
Right. Well,
we let other people, we got a little deep here, but we let other people control our lives more than we think.
Oh, no. So that's that's actually really common. It's the herd mentality. It's societal thinking of like, am I going to be rejected by those that I care about? Because we do care about each other. Yeah, we do care what other people think, but am I going to be rejected by those that I care about if I step out of what the expectations, air quotes, expectations of what people think I should do? People think, I mean, so, now it's good to have people ask the questions, right? Like that's part of your and my relationship. Yeah. I'll ask the questions. I'll also say, like one of your statements this morning, and you were talking about some of the things that were going on in your head, and what did I say to you? You said, no shit.
Yep. And that's why I love you.
Yeah.
And it's sad that more people don't, especially men, don't have other men in their lives to do that.
Right.
To smack them upside the head when they need to be smacked upside the head.
Yeah.
Dude, what are you thinking?
Right.
Right. Get out of your own way.
Right.
Yeah. So I appreciate it more than you ever know. So,
well, it's just, I mean, but it is that funny moment because you're right. I know those guys. I also, because I need them and I don't, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate the feedback. I also know that the things that I need to do, actually, in those cases, I check with God and my wife. Those are the two that are the most important to me.
Yep.
I do want other people's feedback, and I appreciate most when they're honest with me.
Yeah.
It was same guy. He and I have been talking, and he's been stressed for time. And he and I meet regularly. And I said, I walked into the meeting, and I walked in to talk to him, visit like we do every week, and I said, I thought about giving you this hour back. I thought about saying, hey, if you don't have time, no, we don't need to meet. And the look on his face was a look of actual horror. He's like, I don't need this hour back. I need you to smack me upside the head and to talk to me about things that other guys won't talk about.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those, like, good, I'm glad to hear that because I wasn't going to give it to you anyway.
Right?
You're not getting it back. You're not actually going to. But it was again, that expectation of like, are you doing the things that somebody expects you to do? Are you doing the things that the herd believes are there? And it's okay to take the feedback and get the questions. But if you and Alexis are changing some things up, that's between you and her.
Yeah.
And can you provide for your family? Yes. Still have to do that, But if you can do that and do something you love, duh.
Yeah.
Duh. I mean,
it sounds so simple when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
But I think it's that mentality of, you're standing on a cliff and you can see the ledge over here. And just about anybody can stand on that cliff and see where they want to be.
Right.
But there's just a big valley between it. So are you going to leap and hope you have a parachute on and it opens up and you get over there? Or are you going to take a different route and spend 20 years trying to build a bridge over there and you may never reach it? Or what are you going to do? Or are you just going to stay here because you're comfortable?
Well, that's great. That's actually a great analogy. So I look at it in like what I'm a professional counselor now. I do what I do. Would I have? It's funny because even in high school, when I graduated, I said I either want to be a teacher or a psychologist. I've had an opportunity to be both. I'm not a psychologist, counselor, same field. But you know what? I think back 10 years, and I remember standing on the cliff and going, man, I want to get there someday. But I can hang out here for a little bit longer because I was stuck in that idea. I can hang out here a little bit longer. And somebody pushed me off the cliff. I had some, God prompted and things changed.
That's right.
But I got pushed off the cliff. And even just talking about income and status and things like that, we went from $120,000 to $150,000 a year job. So I was teaching school here at one of the academies for like $45,000 a year. Dude, I found myself real quick and starting up going, okay, yeah, I was over there. Now I'm here and I want to be there. So I've got to make the climb.
That's it.
Back up. And now I'm where I want to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes it absolutely takes a push to a scary place to be able to climb back out of it, to climb out into something else. And, I was meeting with a young man the other day who he's 23 years old and he's telling me how much he hasn't accomplished. I said, "You're 23." And then I told him where I was at when I was 23, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I'm way ahead of you."
Exactly.
Thanks, jackass.
Yeah. Right. No, it's so funny because the generation, and I don't keep up with the Generation X, Generation Z. I don't know who's who.
Yeah.
Millennials, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the early 20s,
Yeah.
the 20 to 25 right now is so upset that they're not where 40, 45-year-olds are.
Yeah.
That they don't have this boosting career and all that
Mhm.
stuff. But yet, someone who's almost 45 can look back and go, dude, you're way ahead of where I was when I was 20.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even know what I wanted to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, I had an idea, but I had no clue. I didn't even know who I was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I've talked to a couple of those kids.
Yeah.
And I call them kids now. I talked to a couple of those young adults, and you're like, I mean, heck, I got one that just turned 18.
Right. Yeah.
And I sat around and I listened to her and her soon-to-be husband. They're getting married in 6 weeks.
Yeah. Holy crap.
I know.
Wow.
It's here. It is here. It has happened. It is here. So I hear them talking,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, one, you're way more responsible than I was at that age.
Right.
And two, you're going to figure out that probably doesn't work. But
Right.
it might, because you're a different person than I am.
Right.
When I was that age, it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
You know, I have to step back and go, okay, if they want my advice, they will ask me.
Right.
I'm not going to give unsolicited and push onto them. They've got to figure some things out on their own.
Absolutely.
They're going to buy their first car together today.
Ooh. Wow. That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. So it
minivan?
No. I don't even remember what it is.
Are they trading her car off, or
no? It's they're buying it from someone in Montana.
Okay.
They've went and looked at it. It's a hybrid.
Okay.
And they're pooling their money together. They've got saved up, and they're going to purchase it with cash.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So there's no payment or anything. I know.
Wow.
Way more responsible than I was at that age.
Me too.
Wow. And so they're going to purchase it. It's going to be Addison's full-time car.
Yeah.
So her car, I'm buying from her.
Okay.
And that's going to end up being Garrett's.
I was going to say.
So, yeah, because Garrett he turns 14. What is the date? The 9th. He turns 14 in 5 days.
Yeah.
So he'll have a learner's permit in less than a year.
Right.
And so he'll need a vehicle. So it's a good starter vehicle. So
yeah.
But yeah, so but watching them do it, I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't have did it that way. Ooh, I wouldn't have done it that way. Ooh, because I have 40-something years of knowledge.
Right.
They don't. While I'm not going to let them fall off a cliff.
Right.
I still going to let them get to the edge and pretend like peek over. I'm going to let them, I still kind of want to shepherd and help out, but I'm also not going to micromanage every decision they make either. In 6 weeks, they're going to be one.
Yep.
They're going to be living together. They're going to be, it's going to be them. They're going to have to make some of these decisions.
Yeah.
They will call us when they need advice, but they will have to make their own mistakes.
So thinking of that, who are you more likely to go to for advice? Somebody that's been pushing it down your throat for years and years and years, who's been giving you advice unsolicited for whatever amount of time, or the person that says, I wouldn't do that, but go ahead, and then sits back and lets you. I know me. The person that's been cramming their opinion at me for however long, I've already heard what you have to say.
I'm not going to ask your opinion on anything.
Right. Nope.
And I'm not going to listen to your opinion.
No, not really, because I've already heard as much as I need to hear. Now, the person that sits back and says, okay, I wouldn't do that, but it's your decision. Here's the things that I'm thinking. Here's the things that I'm worried about for you. And that's with anything, right? I mean, career advice, let them do these things. But you're right. They are, especially Gabe and Addison. I look at them and I'm like, you two are like an old married
For
couple
real.
at 18. You're like an old married couple. I don't get it. All right.
But that's my daughter. My daughter she is very assertive, and she sees something she wants, she goes after it.
Right.
She'll be the first to admit when something she went after is not right.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, she's got a really good head on her shoulders, and she actually, I mean, it's funny. I'm not worried about them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most people were like, "Oh, 18 is too young." Maybe, maybe not. They know what they want.
Yeah.
Go at it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we'll be here to help pick you up if you fall, and we'll be here to cheer you on when you're doing great.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what we're gonna be.
Right.
And that's just, we all know that from the age of 18 to 22, you learn a lot. Those 4 years, you learn about life.
Oh yeah.
You learn about life real quick.
Real quick.
But it's also got a lot to do with the way we raise our kids and stuff like that. I mean, the second they turn 15 and can start working, they start paying for their own cell phone bill. They start paying for their own. Yeah. If we're going somewhere and we've got a set, okay, we're eating dinner here, we're cooking at home or whatever, and they want snacks or something like that, they've got their own money. They'll go buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not all the time, but a lot of times. And it teaches them to manage,
Well, that's so we did that a long time ago with both of ours. We said, okay, when they reached high school age, we said, okay, you earn X amount. We pay for X amount of things for you. So I'm going to continue to pay for those things, but I'm going to give you the responsibility of them. So it means I'm not paying for you to go out to the movies. I'm not paying for you to do these other things, and say, you need to manage it. You need to manage it from there. And it does teach that responsibility, but also okay, you have the freedom to start making some of your own choices. And I think that is a big difference. Along the same lines, I mean, going back to the idea of career, James and I actually, so he and I had a conversation about what he wants to do. He actually wants to do something very similar to what I do, but I think he needs to get some experience. But he and I were talking about ways for him. He wants to go to college. Okay. How can you pay for college? How are you going to pay for the college? Because it needs to be your plan. It needs to be your idea. And so I actually threw at him hey, there are certain careers in the National Guard. You can join the National Guard, and there's a $25,000 sign-on bonus if you do certain careers. That's 2 years worth of college.
Yep.
If you're serious, that's something, instead of going into debt, here's the way. And he's like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could see myself doing something like that. But also make sure it's something you enjoy. He loves talking to people. He's very easy to talk to. I see him coaching the other kids doing track. I see him coaching the other kids, talking through other things. I think he's gonna be a natural at it someday.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Life is kind of nuts.
Life is kind of nuts, man. And yeah. I mean, it's not. The sooner you accept that, the sooner someone can accept that, the kind of easier it is. I don't want to say easy, but the better you can grasp things. To me, I accepted a long time ago that I am a fire starter. I am someone who likes creativity. I like starting things. I like that aspect of stuff. I've started multiple businesses, some successful, some I just learned a lot off of, and they didn't. We're not gonna call them failures. We just call them they wasn't successful. Learning experiences. Yeah. I still to this day am learning. Everything seems like a good idea at the very beginning. Yeah. So it's the sooner when I finally accepted that, okay, I am a fire starter.
Yeah.
I am going to have creative thoughts. I need to regulate those.
Yeah.
The sooner I was able to start regulating them and go, okay, this isn't this is a good idea,
Right.
but the timing's not right.
Right. Right.
Let's put that into a file and hold it for later.
Right.
You know, that's a distractive thought.
You know, it's funny because you have those, and I'm actually that number 2 guy. Like, you know, people know very well. Like, I can track just about any conversation. I have no problems following and keeping up. I have no problems with the shift in ideas. And I'm generally pretty good about bringing things back to whatever the central topic is, right? But I'm not a fire starter. I've never been that. You and I've had lots of those conversations over the years. I don't have the spark of ideas that come out. What I do love is when somebody like you has an idea, dude, I can wrap my head around it and I can see the pieces.
Yeah.
I can see the parts of it. I can see how this over here and bringing this over here and weaving them together. And I'm really pretty quick with math in my head, especially financials. I'm really pretty quick in my head. I do figures relatively quickly in my head. And so being able to see those pieces and which I think is what makes me effective as a counselor, is I can see the other pieces. But dude, I'm not a starter. Never have been.
Yeah.
I'm not the first one at the door. I'm not a door buster that way. It doesn't bring me joy. It actually brings me a lot of anxiety to try to come up with ideas. But put me in the co-pilot seat or put me in a support role, dude, I'm all about it. I'm all about it.
And and that's that about yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm talking about. Is like, figure out who you are.
Right.
You know, I know I'm a fire starter. You
Right.
know you are a
Support.
make an idea, support, happen.
Yeah.
You know you're that guy. So the quicker you can realize who you are, the more effective you can be in that role.
Right.
Because if you're trying to be multiple things,
right,
you're trying to be this, that, I'm super excited about what's about to take place with CQB Underground and stuff like that, because I get to get back into that fire starter role. I get to create new things. I get to create whatever it may be, because I have support people in place already at that business.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the day-to-day.
Right.
I don't have to worry about being down there at 4:30 this afternoon to open up.
Right.
I've got somebody that's going to do that.
Right.
I don't have to worry about making schedule for next month. I've got somebody doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about those little things. The operations, the day-to-day stuff, I get to create.
Right.
So I get to finally go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to distract myself from all this other stuff. It's not necessarily bad. It's just a distraction right now.
Right.
So I can fully focus on the creativity of this.
Right.
So yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then it is, like you said, then it is reaching out to those supports, those things you know you're good at. You can do it. You have those abilities, but then also reaching out to your supports and saying, hey, I had this thought. What do you see behind it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Like we were talking about one of the additions that may be possible for CQB. And how quick did I throw you out some numbers?
You did. And I was like, oh, yep. I even thought about it just literally while we're sitting here thinking. I've been thinking about that. And I'm like, I was like, when I get my business plan drawn up completely for the expansion, I want you to look over it because you're going to see things that I miss.
Right.
Because you look at it from a different lens.
Yeah. And
you can go, okay, you know what? These numbers are off. I don't know where you came up with them.
Right.
You're not thinking about this, and this.
Right.
And that's just why. I mean, that's one reason we flow so well in conversation.
Right.
It's definitely, it's good to have support people.
Yeah.
And to know that even though you can do it, they can probably do it better.
Well, it also, it backs up your ideas. Right. If I do have an idea, so, like talking about this, what we're doing now, the podcasting stuff, like we had the idea, you actually came out, and why is it here? Because we came together to say, hey, let's do this. dude, I don't care what else you're doing in life. We're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. This
is the anchor.
All right. We're doing this. This is our sanity check.
That's right.
Throughout. But to be able to go, oh man, I like that, or hey, let's do that, or okay, maybe not. Maybe that looks a little bit different. Like I said, the guy I brought in, Dan, he immediately came in and had the idea, but he immediately came in and we were walking through the space and he's like, oh, you could add 2 more counselors' offices here and here, and you could rival somebody locally. Like there's another place. He's like, and he's like, I can, because I don't like to do supervision as much.
Yeah.
But he's like, I've did it for years. He's been a counselor for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, I can do that. But he's like, I hate the business side. I hate it. I don't do that. Like, well,
there's expansion.
Yeah. And so he's already, it's one of those guys. Like he has this idea. He can see the vision. I'm like, yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
I can see this occurring. Basically, we looked at the storage room in the back, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you could put 2 more small offices back here, and have 2 more junior counselors back here in this space, and plenty of room." He looked at, he took over where your old office was, and he's like, dude, this is twice as big as I need.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't need this much room, but
yeah.
like, well, here it is.
Yeah.
This is what you got. You're living in luxury, man. But it is getting there and doing things that you love to do. It is doing the things that you truly enjoy and seeing those places where you can go and laugh when you screw up.
Mm-hmm. Being able to laugh at yourself when you screw up and not just fall apart.
Yeah.
Because you're going to screw up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you absolutely are. You're going to hit those things and go, man, I was a dumbass there. Mm-hmm. But, I didn't die. I learned something, and now I move forward. Now I do something a little bit different. And that's where I hear you've gone through back and forth through some of those, this sounds funny. So you got 2 horses, but only 1 ass, man. Right?
Right.
I mean, right now you have 2 main horses that you're working on, but you only got 1 ass.
That's it.
You got to pick one.
That's it.
You can't ride them both.
So, yep, and that is definitely the it was. It is a scary. It's that leap.
Yeah.
Because it could end up not going the way I think it's going to go. Right. But that's when you just got to dust yourself off and keep moving. Yeah. I mean, like you said, anything worth doing is not going to be super simple.
Nah.
It's going to be difficult.
Nah.
So.
No, it's not going to be. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be super easy either.
Nope.
You got to work at it. Because if it was easy, somebody else would have done it already.
That's right.
Right. So what's your plans for the rest of the week? What's your plans for the coming up?
What day is it? It's Friday. I got to work today. I got to do. I'm working on a bunch of getting some final big projects out of custom hats I made. So,
okay.
And then weekend, I don't have a ton of plans this weekend.
Yeah.
Mother's Day Sunday.
Yeah.
So, we do a very. Mom doesn't have to do anything on Mother's Day.
Good.
We wait on her hand and foot.
Good.
Like we always should, but we do. She has no responsibility. She just do whatever she wants. So, which is fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, nothing super major this weekend. I'm gonna kind of try to get my ducks in a row with everything that's going on business wise, and then hit the ground running next week.
Good.
So.
Good. I think that's great. And reach out and do those things. And like I said, if there's something you love, do it. For me, more housework, more site clearing and whatever, watching it kind of go up. Mother's Day, we're going to be with Megan's grandma and mom and do that kind of stuff. We actually got my grandma this candy that we ordered it special. It was this candy that it's an old Swiss candy. So she talked about it from her grandma, and she kind of gushed when we got it. So we gave it to her already because we knew we were going to be busy on Sunday itself.
Yeah.
So gave it to her already, and she was like, "Oh, this is the best.
That's awesome.
This is the best." But no, that's it. Kind of the keep moving forward a little bit at a time, doing whatever we need to keep going. So it's about that time, sir.
Is.
So final thoughts, sir. Final thoughts.
I like the $2 million question.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start posing that to people, and seeing responses and hearing, and it's conversation starter, if nothing else. And I think that my final thoughts are ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Like legitimately ask yourself that question. And it ain't gotta be 2 million. Let's say money's not an option.
Right.
If money's not a worry, what do? Do you stay where you're at? Are you only there, and I'm not telling you to go out and just quit your job, but start evaluating and look and start asking the questions. Well, could I do what I love for a living? Right. Is there a way to do it? And do that.
Yeah. The only reason I kind of settled on like the 2 million number is 2 million is usually enough to get somebody out of debt. But unfortunately, in today's economy, it's not enough to just not work forever.
You're right. So that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. $1 million is not what it used to be.
Right. So that's kind of why I throw that number out there. It's that 2 million, regardless of how much debt you're in, usually that'll get you out of debt, and is enough to do something, but not enough to retire on.
Yeah,
just not there. But I agree. It is that thought that should be floating around in our heads. It's the question we should ask. It's a great conversation. Like, oh man, what would you do? Because it's deeper than the freaking weather conversation. I hate so much.
Yeah,
I hate that right there.
Yeah.
So, but sir, it's been another great episode.
It has.
I appreciate the time, and so with that, we're going to close out another episode of Distracted Thoughts.
Yep. Y'all have a wonderful day.